Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on Sitcom Showdown. Hello and welcome back to Sitcom Showdown. Thank you for downloading. And you'll find that it's Steve's turn this time around.
Hey.
What are we going to have this time?
Well, in a first for Sitcom Showdown, I'm going to choose an episode from a sitcom we've already covered.
Yeah. Wow, that came around quickly.
Yes.
In episode 11.
Yes.
Very good. We just had to do a quick episode count there.
I'm just working my way through the series and I found a corker.
Well, reveal all.
Okay, well, it's Corner Gas.
Okay, right. I'll know what's happening this time for Corner Gas.
Yeah, you're familiar with the characters now, so that's good. Although I'm a little bit tense about bringing anything along now because, who knows what might happen.
Oh, okay.
Might not get past.
Oh, yeah.
Might not get through the goalposts.
Oh.
Anyway, so it's Corner Gas, and this is an episode called Telescope Trouble, aka the Door Nazi.
Well, for a moment
That's my subtitle.
I thought it had involved a telescope, but now I'm thinking it involves doors.
Well, funny you should say that.
Okay.
It involves both.
Ah.
It's season 3, episode 17.
Right.
And let me go through a bit of a description of Corner Gas for those who didn't catch it last time.
Yeah, I could use a reminder as well.
Yes. No worries. Corner Gas is set in a town called Dog River in Saskatchewan, which is in Canada. The main character is Brent Leroy, who's the proprietor of Corner Gas, which is a service station. In fact, it's the only service station for 60 kilometres, or 37 miles in any direction. Wanda Dollard, she also works at Corner Gas. And you might remember, Jeff, that she's the smartest person in town.
And in real life, is that his wife?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, you're on the ball. Corner Gas is right next to a coffee shop, which is, or they might call it a diner.
I'd call it a diner for sure.
That's called the Ruby. And that's owned and run by Lacey Burrows. And Lacey is, as I mentioned last time, she's an outsider who moved there from Toronto. But I think as the series has progressed, we're seeing less and less storylines which are built around her being the outsider trying to fit in.
Aha.
Other characters include Hank, who is Brent's slacker friend, childhood friend.
Is Hank a bit of comedy relief? Can we officially call him that?
Yeah, I think so.
The comic relief? In a comic show, you probably don't need comic relief.
No, but he's the closest thing you've got to a fool
in
this show. You've got Brent's parents, Oscar and Emma, and the town's police, Davis and Karen. And that rounds out pretty much all the main characters. There's a few others that, like the mayor, will pop in every now and then, but that's the core bunch of characters. This was shown on the CTV network in Canada, and it ran for 6 seasons from 2004 to 2009. Although there is a movie that was made in 2014, and the animated series is being worked on at the moment. I think it might be close to coming out, actually. Brent Butt. We didn't actually make a joke about his name last time.
No.
You're going to resist the urge?
Yep.
Okay. He plays Brent, funnily enough. He's a stand-up comedian, creator of Corner Gas, as well as a writer and executive producer. And like you mentioned, he's married to Nancy Robinson, who plays Wanda. Fred Unick plays Hank. And the rest of the cast are Janet Wright, who plays Emma. Lacey Burrows. I've got this around the wrong way. What's going on? Lacey Burrows is played by Gabrielle Miller.
Okay.
Oscar Leroy is played by Eric Peterson. Davis Quinton, the policeman, is Lorne Cardinal. And Karen, the police lady, is Tara Spencer-Nairn. This episode was written by Kevin White and Paul Mather. And I think Paul was the co-writer on the last Corner Gas episode we looked at. So like I said, I'm currently in season 4 now.
Oh.
So I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through.
Right.
And Jeff, you've only watched it just the once.
One time.
But the characters will be...
I'll be familiar now.
More familiar to you now. I just thought it would be interesting to raise what you mentioned last time about there being no laugh track or studio audience for this. And it gives it an interesting flavour. And so it's got neither of those things, and not being a
strict mockumentary, it doesn't have the reactions to camera that you get from that as well. So there's nothing to guide and manipulate you as the viewer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gives it an interesting flavour. Anyway, let's go and watch the episode.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
You know, if you folks are lost, there's maps inside.
No, here's good.
What about my customers?
Oh, they're not bothering us. Are you saying you want us to leave?
No, I could never kick out my own parents. I want you to kick out my parents.
But they raised you. Gave you life.
Use your nightsticks if you have to. Send a message.
Can I borrow your nightstick?
No.
They did raise you.
And now it's payback time.
The same things you don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, so let's give you a synopsis of the episode and what happens. Well, you may have guessed by the subtitle I gave it that the front door to Corner Gas is broken. It's a major problem. Customers have to get in, and they can't be...
I haven't seen a single customer, but when they arrive, they have to come in.
in theory. Yeah. So Brent's been working on the problem by making a sign warning the customers that the door's broken. But of course the sign doesn't work, and Hank is the first victim. He comes in and gets hit on the bum. And I thought...
It's weird to hear
bum,
people with...
a North American accent.
Say the word bum.
Yeah. You thought...
I found it strange as well, for sure.
I thought bum was an Australianism and maybe a UK thing, but
Oh, yeah.
maybe it made its way to Canada.
I think it's British, and probably made its way to all the colonies. If we have any South African listeners,
Right.
and they
So
can
it's
tell us if they use the word bum a lot.
So bum is a Commonwealth term.
It's a Commonwealth term.
We're claiming it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then later, they're in the Ruby, and Lacey suggests using Terry the door guy to fix the door. Bring in the specialist, she says. But Brent's insistent he wants to do it himself until Hank comes in, and he's now wanting compensation for having been hit by the door. At which point, Brent capitulates and asks for Terry's number. Oscar and Emma, what's happening with them? Well, they're doing the retiree thing, and they're looking at buying an RV. So they're around at someone's house, and I guess they've listed it on the local version of Gumtree. And the guy says, you'll love it, you'll really enjoy it. My dad loved it. And Oscar says, well, if your dad loves it so much, why isn't he still using it? The guy says, actually he died. And what I love is that without missing a beat, Oscar says, did he die in the RV? If he does,
I want a discount.
If he did, I want a discount. At which point the guy just completely ignores him and looks at Emma and says, look, just take it for a week, and if you don't love it, bring it back and we'll refund your money.
That was the first great line of the episode. It's just, it's brilliant, that one.
So in the third scene, we get our first look at the telescope. And we see Wanda and Karen, and they're bringing it into Corner Gas. And why are they bringing it into Corner Gas? Because Wanda's kid will destroy it if she stores it at her house.
Oh.
Yes, and there's a story to Wanda's kid,
Okay.
which we won't get into now. She's got it to watch the Prokop meteor shower, which happens every 12,000 years, so it's even less frequent than the yawning trees in Yonderland, Jeff.
Yeah. Well done.
Anyway, Hank comes into Corner Gas, sees the telescope and says, hey, cool bazooka. And they decide, right, it's not safe here either, so they're taking it to the cop shop. Then Terry, the door guy, turns up at Corner Gas, and Brent is a little bit troublesome when Terry arrives, so Lacey pulls him to one side and says, hey, be nice to this guy. I had to pull some strings so that he'd come and do your door.
Oh.
Because there's a waiting list for this, for Terry services. Anyway, we see Wanda and Karen, they're walking the telescope over to the police station, and Karen's suggesting that Wanda might have been overreacting when Hank came in.
Yep.
And then there's this fairly complicated but brilliant visual gag where first Wanda says, no, I'm not overreacting. Do you remember what happened with my bird bath? And then you see this close-up.
Cut to the shot of
close-up shot of Hank tripping over Wanda's bird bath. And then you go back to the ladies carrying the telescope. Karen says, yeah, but that was a pretty ugly bird bath. And Wanda says, yeah, but, what about the TV? What about my TV?
Do you remember what he did to my TV?
Yeah. And then you go back to what's basically a replay of the same thing but zoomed out. And there you see...
He tripped over it because he couldn't see it because he was carrying a TV in front of him. And
Hank's carrying the TV, trips over the bird bath, and loses hold of the TV. And that goes flying.
Which doubles the effect of the gag.
Doubles the effect.
It's brilliant.
And Karen says, that wasn't his fault. And Wanda says, what about my car? And then you see the same thing replayed for the third time.
With slightly wider shot.
Slightly wider again, and he trips over the bird bath, drops the TV, but actually
flies through
goes flying through the air into the window of the car. I'd never seen that done before.
I had never seen that done before either, and I've said the same thing in my notes. It's very nifty and crafty use there.
Yes.
It's very good.
So she chases him down the street. And this explains why Wanda doesn't want him going anywhere near the telescope. Anyway, back in Corner Gas, Terry's on the job. He's in control. Lacey's congratulating Brent on being mature enough to subordinate himself to another, more capable man.
Yeah.
I can imagine how this is going down.
He doesn't take it very well.
Yep. The telescope arrives at the police station, and the ladies see Davis there, and then he says something about a bazooka, so they keep on moving. They're not storing it there either. And the next thing you know, Wanda is at Brent's place, and they've decided this is the safest possible place for it because it's going to be shielded by the power of his intense disinterest. Oscar and Emma they've got hold of the RV and they've parked it in front of Corner Gas. And while they're parked, are they cooking?
Oh,
I think they're cooking hot dogs or something like that on a grill.
Oh, okay, right.
And they're all set up.
Early.
They've got the chairs out. They've got the gas stove or whatever.
They're camping.
And they're giving Brent heaps about the door. And he's not very happy about having his parents parked in an RV out the front of his shop. So he rings Davis and tells him to come down and threaten his parents.
Evict the parents.
Yeah, bring your nightstick, he says. Brent comes into the Ruby, complains to Lacey that the door's only been fixed for 4 hours and now it's broken again. He should have just done it himself. But she warns him against this because if he does, he'll void the warranty. Then there'll be trouble. Just call Terry, she says. And Brent says, I already did, but he can only come between 4 and 8. And that's a problem because he's going to be watching kickboxing with Hank. So how can he possibly be there to deal with Terry?
Priorities.
Yeah, priorities, absolutely. So later in the day, Hank and Brent have moved the TV, not the big TV.
No, I remember the big TV.
Not the big TV. Another TV outside of Brent's house, and they're endeavouring to watch the kickboxing and keep an eye out for Terry.
Right.
But it's not really working, so what do they decide to do?
Yes, they need to magnify their vision somehow in order to see Terry.
Yes,
Is there anything handier out
Brent
there?
goes, that reminds me. Anyway, it's no longer shielded by his intense disinterest. And now the two main storylines cross over because, they get in trouble, don't they?
They get told off.
They get found out.
I wonder.
Oscar and Emma, who have been roving around town in the RV, just moving another 100 metres down the road from the last spot, they appear to be on the move, but they're not, are they?
No.
It's really just a whole bunch of people driving past with trees in trailers. And I don't know if this reminded you of something from the Goodies, Jeff?
It did, when they're at the station.
Daylight robbery on the Orient Express.
Yeah. Classic. Yeah,
Except
it really did.
In that one, the train's stationary. And they're trying to give the people inside the impression that they're going through Europe or something like that.
By playing train noises and running past with potted palms and all that sort of... Yeah, it's great.
Classic. So the guys decide they're going to fix the door themselves rather than miss out on the kickboxing. Because obviously the telescope's been confiscated from them, so...
Change of plan.
Yep, they want to get their priorities right, so they're going to fix the door themselves, get that out of the way. They don't need to wait for Terry.
No.
And go back to the kickboxing. Anyway, they get caught by Terry. And he complains that it's a fiddle fest down there. With people messing with their doors. Which gets Lacey in trouble. because as it happens, her door is just busted. And when she rings Terry, he's saying, "Oh, no, I'm not going to come down there. You guys have obviously...
You're all fiddlers.
Yeah, you're all mucking about with these doors and getting them broken." Oscar and Emma have come full circle, and they've arrived back home. Terry turns up, and Brent has fixed Lacey's door, so his pride has been restored. And then you get a scene of Wanda and Hank watching the Prokop meteor shower, which is quite a touching little scene, but they get to share the moment with each other, but she does warn him that he should never speak a word of the fact that she actually enjoyed his company. And the next day, back at Corner Gas, Hank, Wanda and Brent are there, and Wanda is taking the telescope out of Corner Gas. And Hank says, "Oh, it was really nice of Wanda to let me use the telescope to watch the meteor shower, and thought it was so nice I bought her a replacement bird bath."
Oh.
Which he's obviously placed outside Corner Gas. And what do you know? Wanda trips over the bird bath while she's carrying the telescope and puts it through Brent's car window. Boom.
Yes. Mirroring.
Yes.
Yep.
And that was that. So,
yeah.
Let me go into the reasons why I think it's worthy of entry into the Hall of Fame.
All right.
I don't know if this is clouding my judgment of the episode a bit, but I can personally relate to this door situation.
Oh, really?
Because I'm completely unhandy. And if something breaks at home, then I get into this situation where I feel like I should do something myself to fix it, but I'm not confident to do it, so I
put it off.
And rather than just swallow my pride and spend some money getting someone else out to do it, I just put it off for ages. So I completely.
You are a modern man.
Yes. What about you? Can you relate to that at all?
Totally. I mean, we had 2 new doors fitted here a few years back, and I wasn't going to do it.
No.
So we got a door guy out to do it.
Fair enough. Was there a warranty?
I had to paint.
Was there hinge warranty?
No. And this is why I think Terry's a con man. If he was any good, then Lacey's door wouldn't have gone in the first place, in the second half of that door plot. I'm in the same boat as you.
Well, at least you're man enough to admit that you were mature enough to subordinate yourself to a more capable man.
Yeah. I'd like to see that door guy do a podcast, though. That'd never happen.
Oh, he'd never know his way around Audacity.
No way. Yeah. So it all evens out.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
Or at least that's the view I'm sticking to.
Fair enough. So I thought the quality of the gags was very high throughout. A few of my favourite ones were the gag about Copernicus, where Wanda, this is where you get to see Wanda's smarts compared to everyone else in town, and I think what happens is she mentions Copernicus to Brent in the context of this telescope, then he mentions it to Lacey and she mentions it to Hank, and I think you kind of see the hierarchy of who's got the smarts in town.
Yep.
Because it's like a Chinese whispers thing where every time someone mentions it to someone else, it becomes more, the name gets more garbled.
And the details get more streamlined, shall we say.
I think Hank at the end says, "Oh, he invented space," or something, something really stupid like that.
It's crazy.
Yep. The gag where Wanda is telling Brent about the meteor shower, and he's saying, because he's a comic book fan, he said something like, does it, bestow superpowers on people when you go through the meteor shower? She says no, and he's going, okay, my interest is waning in this thing. And there was a good joke about how he was, as they're bringing the telescope into Brent's house, and he's saying how it's going to be shielded by the...
Intensed his interest.
He's intensed his interest. He says how he was emasculated by the door, and she's quite alarmed by this, and he says, no, it wasn't literal, it was just mental or something like that. Is that what he says?
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, it just works really well.
It does.
What else can I say about the gags? Well, there's a lot of them, and I don't know if you noticed in this episode, maybe more than the other one, Jeff, is that they're cutting back and forth between scenes so quick in there. I haven't actually counted how many scenes there are in this episode, but far out. I was doing this synopsis, and it's really difficult because often you flick it into a scene, and then you've got could be 2 lines of dialogue, and then
bam,
you're into the next one. And I was wondering whether, without having a laugh track or studio audience or paying things off with the look to camera or something like that, they managed to roll through.
I think you've hit on something there.
More than you normally do.
Which is exactly the sort of thing I like to think about. and then by extension speak about. So yeah, whenever you've watched sitcoms with the laugh track taken out, because someone invented a device to do that.
Oh yeah, you're telling me about that.
And it was the worst invention in history, because you don't want the laugh track taken out, because this very thing happens. So you'll have line, counter line, ha 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 ha, but without the laugh track there's this vastly long, unnatural pause that just wouldn't happen.
And what do they do in this? They just zip straight up. There's a little musical cue and you're on to the next.
I don't know. It's just, it'd be if you and me were having this conversation now, and then after that sort of pause, we continue.
Yep.
And all that. It just doesn't work without a laugh track. So I think you've hit on something and made a very good point, is that without the laugh track or the reaction shots, they're able to cycle through a lot more snappy dialogue.
There's a variety of gags. You've got, sarcasm, which is pretty much their stock in trade.
Yeah.
You've got sight gags, or a couple we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to the end of my notes.
Right, so you've put your case, have you?
Yeah, that's
right.
it.
Okay, well, it's amazing because a lot of your notes are mirrored here in my notes. So I've got Birdbath TV car, 3 incidents in one, presented in a very nifty way. And as I said before, much like you, I've not seen anything like that. I like, there are a lot of good gags in this. So the Powerpuff Girls gag with Hank straight up, that was really good. It's like for the first couple of minutes, I was just thinking, oh no, this is a disaster, because there was nothing. And no offense to your selection, but I was just thinking, oh, this isn't going well. And then they just emerged after, a couple of minutes, and it was just bang, 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 a whole bunch of really good lines.
My synopsis didn't even cover the whole...
No, it
first
doesn't.
thing.
And it can't, not in a show where we've only got half an hour to talk about it. Oh, the Chinese Whispers with Copernicus. I had Shielded by the Power of My Extreme Disinterest. The Ruler instead of a nightstick is classic. And it's, bring your nightsticks. Is calling in nightsticks on your parents isn't very nice. But that's not the gag. The gag is, can I borrow your nightstick? No. Brilliant. Who lives to be 12,000 for the once in a lifetime experience? These are ultra clever lines. They're just so good. And now I will sing the same song again.
What was that?
Remember when he's there at the RV out front of the cop shop?
Oh.
And Davis is Davis? He's playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And now I'll play the same song again.
Yeah, it was Kumbaya.
Almost the equivalent of here's a purse of monies which I'm not going to give to you. So I just gave up writing at that point with trying to keep track of the good gags. Hank, I'm getting into the bad stuff now. Hank wasn't, because I found him great in the first Corner Gas we did. He's not very good in this one. I thought all his stuff was a bit, either not needed or very ordinary. Maybe his character just didn't get some good lines in this one. But anyway... and the entire door plot, I think, none of the things I liked happened in regard to the door plot at all, whereas all of the things I really did like happened with the telescope and RV plot.
Oh, that's
and I just had the whole door thing. I think because it started on the door thing, and I was thinking, this is amateur hour. You've got your rookie sitcom writer would do stuff like this, and it's not sophisticated at all, and this is just going to be painful. And then it just all goes up from there as the other plots are introduced, and it's just great line after great line after great line. So yes, there you go. That's where I stand on the door one. That could just be personal taste, but you're just thinking, oh no.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that mars this for me, because there's a lot of quality in there.
Did you feel like it was too predictable, the door one?
Oh yeah, very much so, and it wasn't funny.
Oh.
Yeah, but as far as intelligence goes, man, there's a lot of great lines in this. So there you go.
So what's the overall verdict?
So the overall verdict is I've been very much on the fence, because I'm thinking, how does this measure up to Basil the Rat, and how does it measure up to the Young Ones and all that sort of stuff? And while it doesn't measure up to that, it's like when you've got 2/3 really good quality, and I think on the strength of the Birdbath TV car gag alone for Corner Gas.
Well, I don't know. I think if you think there's gags that aren't working in there, you should just knock it back.
Oh, but there's gags I think don't work in other things we've done. Are we going to have to call it not going into the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
on my personal dislike of the door?
Yeah, I think
Plot
so.
line.
If you think it didn't work.
Oh.
If it didn't work for you.
And not put it into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But I was so impressed by the other stuff.
Oh, well.
Oh,
That's the way it goes.
I just feel all something now. There you go.
Anticlimax.
It's normally a total love fest here on Sitcom Showdown.
We've got to
We've got to bite the bullet.
yeah, that's it. We
Yeah.
can't put non-5-star things in front of our listeners and say that it is.
Okay. But anyway, so I guess that's where that leaves us at the end of this episode of Sitcom Showdown.
Okay, it's rejected.
The corner gas. Oh, that makes it sound so harsh.
It goes on. Well, this episode's rejected.
Oh.
It
Yeah.
goes on to the rejected pile.
Oh, I feel dirty now, Steve. Okay, well,
Maybe next time.
yes, highly recommended though, and highly praised for a lot of these great gags.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you next time.
Ta-ta!
Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.